ScouterStan. Let's talk about camping for all. Did you know the definition of scout camping is very broad? It ranges from a sleepover all the way to a weeks-long mountain climbing, hiking adventure. It can vary, so it's important to know some of the basics. Now, one of the things that I covered a long time ago was the camping mode on a cell phone. It's known as the off button, and a lot of people don't know it, but that's exactly the camping mode that's preferred when you're out camping. When you're camping, you're camping. You're not surfing the internet. Most of the time, there's no Wi-Fi available. There's nothing around. The signal is very weak. So just turn it off. You might turn it on to record a squirrel or take pictures or something of that nature. But most of the time, it should be in the camping mode, which is called off. But with that, keep in mind that all of your scout leaders, all of your adults, all the parents, everyone that goes camping should take and have current their youth protection training. No matter what, you will always, no matter what you're doing in scouting, you will always need a minimum of 4 youth protection trained adult leaders. Now, the reason you need that is that 2 of them may need to go somewhere, being 2 deep leadership. So you always have to have 2 minimum in camp. So 4 is what you need in case there's an emergency. But we need to make sure that all adults that are in camp are youth protection trained. That's critical. Now, if you're in Cub Scouts, I highly recommend that all the parents do the youth protection training. It has 2 big benefits. You don't run into the situation where you run out of people that are qualified to do 2 deep leadership with youth. So that's critical. It also benefits because you know what we expect of the other adult leaders. This is critical for parents. It sets their mind at ease, knowing that their youth are going to be safer than ever before because of YPT, what we call youth protection training. Cub Scout camping. Wow. It's challenging. It can be done. I know of many units that are very successful at doing Cub Scout camping. Basic adult outdoor orientation, otherwise known as BALOO training, is critical. You need at least 2 in a camping situation. More would be great, but at minimum you need 2. Now, in a pack camping situation, it's also known as family camping. The more BALOO trained leaders you have, which would be great if the Cub Master and the den leaders all had BALOO training. That's great. But this is open to all leaders, including committee people. So that is one other thing. And it's family camping. So we want to make sure our Cub Scouts are safe. And of course, YPT, the youth protection training, falls right in line with that. Those rules still apply throughout all camping. That still is there. Now, district Cub camping is set up like family camping, but each unit should keep up all of the default training that's needed to do camping on their own. Because it's a district thing doesn't mean that those rules are waived. So it is important that your youth protection training, all the YPT stuff, all of those requirements, and the BALOO training is kept up to date. And you have people available that have that training. Then, of course, there are Cub families that go family camping. This is a non-Cub Scout related camping situation where it is all as a singular family. I recommend that all of the stuff that we do for all the other kinds of Cub camping should also be applied there too. But that is optional because you are not doing it. It's a non-scouting event. That's the thing. If it's a scouting event, those rules apply. If it's not a scouting event, you're just seeing the national parks and spending a night in one of the Yellowstone campsites. Having that training is going to be helpful, but not required. Now let's talk about troop camping. Camping for beginners in a troop can be very challenging, especially if they're not used to Cub camping. Say, for instance, you have some Webelos or Arrow of Lights that have crossed over into a troop and they have never camped before. That's going to be challenging, and you need to make sure that the introduction to outdoor leadership skills, IOLS, has been done and you have trained leaders. Very, very important. Now, throughout any of the troop camping environments, you need 2 or more that have done IOLS. There are 2 exceptions, and we'll talk about them. But generally speaking, you need to have the introduction to outdoor leadership skills for at least 2 adults that are on the trip. Now, of course, all of your youth protection training applies here. All of those rules. It's very important that these rules are followed. It's extremely important. Summer camp is a little bit different. You're going to have anywhere from beginner campers all the way to advanced campers, okay? The advanced campers, they're probably going to be fine. It would be advantageous to make sure that your IOLS and your youth protection, all that stuff, will be checked. When you check in, they're going to check those things. Every scout camp that's certified does those checks. They make sure that that stuff is there. That's very important. You need to know that before you go. And a lot of times, if you don't have the minimum, it's not like they're going to turn you around, but they're going to go into an intense training immediately with you. So that is very important to have up to date when you go to summer camp. Now let's talk a little bit about advanced troop camping. This is often referred to as patrol camping. You will need 2 or more IOLS trained leaders, and of course you'll have to keep within the youth protection training in regards to the gender requirements. Now that we have Scouts BSA, where we have boy troops and girl troops, you have to keep those guidelines in mind. So very few troops do patrol camping. This is very rare. It's actually an incredible camping trip if you do it as a patrol. The fellowship that you get, the teamwork that you get out of that patrol is amazing. So think about it. Patrol camping is possible. You still need the adult leadership. You still need to use those guidelines. You still need to have those things there in order for them to even do patrol camping. But you could also do it as a patrol that you put together just for one camp out as the Green Bar Patrol. Okay, these are all of the patrol leaders, the assistant patrol leaders, the scribe, the bugler, all of the leadership, your patrol leaders council. The PLC, they could actually go camping and do training at the same time. So that would be an awesome weekend. But all of the requirements, the IOLS, the YPT, all of that stuff still applies. Now, just like the advanced camping for a troop, when you're dealing with a venture crew, when they go camping, venture crews can be, for all intents and purposes, they are co-ed. Okay, they have boys and girls. So you have to keep your YPT enforced. You need to make sure that that's enforced. These are the older scouts. They might be on an adventure. They might be on a big hike or a big camp out or something, okay? But you need to keep within the guidelines for the venture crew. They have IOLS for venture. So look into that. In many districts, many councils, they might have that available. So look into it. Now let's talk about high adventure camping. The Cub Scouts really don't do that. They're not going to go on a 50-miler canoe trip. They're not going to be doing that, okay? There's nothing wrong with the parents that want to do something like that. It's very challenging, but that would be on their own. It would be a non-scouting kind of event, okay? So Cub Scouts, they really don't do high adventure. Now, in a lot of places, they have age requirements for their high adventure base. You name it. If it's the summit, they do have younger scouts, 12 and up, but if you're going to Philmont, it's 14 and up, and there are certain physical requirements that are there. So we're talking advanced camping. There may be requirements wherever you're going that adult leaders may need to take wilderness first aid training. Of course, all the IOLS and all the YPT stuff is still enforced. Now, a lot of times they will assign a ranger, somebody that knows the camp, who knows the ins and outs of all the different departments that are in that camp. That's the ranger that's assigned to your unit, and you work with them. They might even go with you for a few days, okay? So that's something on a big trek. That's something they could do. Philmont comes to mind. Northern Tier comes to mind. I don't think they do it a whole lot at the at the summit or at sea base. So these are high adventure bases that is available to youth. And these are some of the requirements. You need to check to make sure that you're up to date on all of these things. But the scouting adventure goes on. You could do all kinds of stuff. There are overseas journeys that you could do. You could go to world jamborees. You can go to NOAC, which is often a big thing for the Order of the Arrow. So these are things that happen, but you got to keep in mind that there are certain requirements that are there, and they're there for a very good reason. The number one reason is safety. That is our job. That is our job as adult leaders, is the safety of our youth. We want them to have fun. If you're not being safe, that's not fun. That's dangerous. It's bad, okay? You could run into some really terrible things. So it's very important that we keep them safe and we keep ourselves trained and certified in all of the required departments. And making sure that you know all those things is incredibly important. And you do so much work. You don't want to jeopardize all that. You want to make sure that your scouts are having fun. And that's the key. So, and I want you to keep doing all the hard work that you're doing. And I'm so glad that you're volunteering for scouting. Scouting is the best thing that the youth have out there. We know that. We need to tell others about that. So keep up that good work, and I will see you on the trail.